I'm Jim Delgado. I'm a maritime or nautical archaeologist. I'm the president of the Institute of Nautical Archaeology at Texas A&M University, and author. Just finished a new book on Khubilai Khan's lost fleet, or search for history's greatest armada, and longtime friend and contributor to Archaeology magazine. The story of Khubilai Khan's invasions of Japan, both in 1274 and 1281, are largely known to the Western world thanks to the tales of Marco Polo, who talked about these incredible armadas that the Khan sent not once but twice to try to add Japan to his world empire. In both occasions, the Khan's navy was defeated, and according to Japanese legend, they were defeated by the prayers of the Emperor of Japan, who appealed to his ancestral gods to sweep the enemy off their shores. His prayers were answered with a divine wind, or kamikaze in Japanese. In the 1980s, Japanese researcher Torao Mozai had made headlines throughout the world, and in particular a National Geographic feature article, by discovering where the battles had taken place and finding relics of the battles, including a bronze seal that was the smoking gun that archaeologists oftentimes are looking for. But in this case, it actually said that this seal had been given by the Emperor, Khubilai Khan, to a commander of 1,000 troops. And being discovered in shipwreck debris on the beach of Takashima Island in Japan, this had excited everyone, but nobody knew for sure where the ships were. So Japanese researchers, particularly under the leadership of Kenzo Hayashida from the Kyushu Okinawa Society for Underwater Archaeology, had begun work to follow where Mozai had begun. They located the remains of where the ships had gone down, and starting in 2000 and in 2001, when we visited, they had finally struck the remains of a ship or a few ships. Diving on the wreck site of the Khan's fleet is not like visiting a manicured battlefield, say, elsewhere in the world. In this case, actually, you're diving in water that is very murky, and you're swimming over a seabed that is featureless. It's a muddy, gelatinous bottom. You have to go down nearly 2 meters through the soft mud before you reach the level of where the ship sank in the 13th century. And there, in this broken jumble of materials, you find broken ship pieces, Mongol armor, scraps of leather armor, weapons, pottery, all sorts of things that had been in these ships that had been jumbled up. Now, for the Japanese archaeologists, some of the key questions have been, not only do we have ships from the Khan and his invasion and what can we learn from them, but also a key question, particularly in dealing with a site that is so heavily laden with legend or myth, is, was there truly a kamikaze? Was there a huge storm that blew? The ships are torn apart, and so you can suggest that yes, there was a storm that did this, or as Kenzo Hayashida said, perhaps many storms on a coast well known for being hit with seasonal typhoons. Regardless of whether or not the Khan's fleet was ground up in one initial great storm in 1281 or over the next 7 centuries, what archaeologists now face is a veritable puzzle in which all of these ships have been tossed into a blender and ground up. And that's where the work of somebody like Randall Sasaki comes into the forefront. This talented young man has taken pieces of wood, some no bigger than the palm of my hand, and meticulously reconstructed not only the ships, but even things like how well these ships were made. And in one fragment alone, multiple nail holes, which suggested, much like a well-used piece of furniture that one constantly is hammering new nails in to keep it together. Some of the ships that Khubilai Khan sent against the Japanese in 1281 were not necessarily in the best of shape. Some of them were hastily built, others had been repaired, and one very amazing wooden tag, which suggested that a piece had been inspected and was good enough to go, is a reminder that there are certain aspects of bureaucracy that are timeless. And so in that, I think we're gaining a much more sophisticated and detailed knowledge of just what happened to defeat Khubilai Khan on the shores of Japan in 1281.